UFC has once again shattered the emotions of MMA fans, as Islam Makhachev has just shared that the organization isn't interested in booking him against Ilia Topuria at the White House card. Islam Makhachev confirms that a fight between him and Ilia Topuria will not take place at the White House event. He points out that Topuria already has an opponent lined up, and adds that the UFC is not interested in booking that matchup at this time.
Ислама, если Илья и Gaethje сразятся в главном событии, ты бы согласился бы со главным поучаствовать?
Ну, так не принципиально для меня драться со главным или в главном. В начале карьеры я дрался в первом поединке турнира. Так что это не такой принципиальный вопрос для меня. Думаю, в Белом доме точно не будет, потому что у него уже есть соперники. UFC в этом бою пока не заинтересован. У меня уже есть так потенциальные соперники, 3-4 человека в моем дивизионе в 77 килограмм, которые уже, можно сказать, заслужили драться за пояс. Так что я думаю, ближайший, 2026 год, маловероятный поединок.
Islam Makhachev was interested to compete at the White House card, and in a recent interview, he already told the UFC that he expects to be booked soon. He views the event as a rare opportunity to make a mark and secure a lasting place in MMA history, but now it seems the fans are once again robbed from witnessing the clash between two best MMA fighters of this generation.
If somebody wants, let's do it. I tell them I will be ready soon. If White House, of course, I want to be in White House because there may be one and only we will make the fighting in White House. I want to be in history. Now I'm already make good money, which one enough for my family, you know. And now I have everything before it's also not coming in my dream, you know. Now I just ready, you know. I training every day, still hungry, still fighting, still want to be champion.
MMA pros were also hyped for this matchup. Michael Bisping considered Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria the ideal fight for a White House card. He believed such a high-profile stage demands a matchup of equal magnitude, and pairing these two would create an unforgettable night while delivering the kind of spectacle fans expect from a historic event.
Don't put an event on at the White House and not have the fight card just blow everything else to smithereens, right? This thing has to deliver, and it absolutely will. And they're going to put together the most incredible night of fights that us fight fans, UFC fans, could ever imagine, right? And there's no bigger fight right now, in my humble opinion, than Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria.
Michael Bisping hyped the matchup and questioned whether MMA had ever seen two reigning two-division champions face off while both are at their peak. He thinks such a clash alone would make the moment historic, and staging it at a massive venue would create an unparalleled spectacle, capturing the attention of legends, contenders, and fans from across the sport.
Have we ever seen two weight division champions going up against one another in their absolute primes? I don't think we have, whether it's in their prime or old damaged goods. I don't think we've ever seen two weight division champions going up against each other. It's never happened. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section. But I really don't think that's ever happened. So this would truly be a one-of-a-kind, at a one-of-a-kind event, at the most desired fight night in the history of the sport. Every man and their dog, every fighter, whether they're retired, whether on the fringe of retirement, whether they're recently retired, or whether they're at the top of the sport or not.
On the other side, looking ahead to his next fight at 170 pounds, Islam Makhachev shows no worry about limited options as the welterweight division heats up. He sees the weight class as wide open and is ready to face whoever the UFC puts in front of him. Confident in his long-term prospects, Makhachev intends to defend the belt and build a lasting run rather than treating the division as a temporary stop.
Вариантов много, если честно, на мой вес сейчас как-то ожил welterweight. Я думаю, сейчас вариантов очень много. Посмотрим, я вообще, мне без разницы. И все должны предложить скоро. Я сказал, если им бы не было без разницы, потому что я чувствую, что я смогу долго в этом весе себя пояс сохранить и себя там комфортно чувствовать.
There are also a few talks going on about a potential fight between Islam Makhachev and Ian Garry. However, Islam reveals he only learned about a potential fight with Ian Garry through media reports and confirms there have been no talks with the UFC about that matchup. The White House event remains under discussion and appears to be the most likely option for his return. He has no issue serving as co-main event if needed, and makes it clear that a bout with Ilia Topuria on that card is not happening, as the promotion has no interest in booking it.
Кстати, вот если говорить про будущее, Ислам, сейчас практически все уже западные СМИ пишут информацию о том, что твоим следующим соперником станет Иан Мачадо Гарри. Можешь подтвердить как-то это? То есть насколько от UFC уже была такая информация?
У меня, честно, вот только то, что в медиа я сам прочел, а так даже никаких конкретных переговоров насчет именно этого соперника у меня не было.
Вообще, по пониманию, по Белому дому появилось, ты говорил, что хочешь там выступить. И вроде как UFC везде стал давать информацию, что карт уже готов.
Я не думаю, что карт еще готов. Но еще у нас обсуждается примерная дата моего боя. Если даже не будет в Белом доме, то это около этой даты. И не исключаю вариант Белого дома. Ну, на сегодняшний день это самый вероятный вариант.
Ислам, а если Илья и Gaethje сразятся в главном событии, ты бы согласился бы со-главным поучаствовать?
Ну, так не принципиально для меня драться со-главным или в главном. В начале карьеры я дрался в первом поединке турнира. Так что это не такой принципиальный вопрос для меня.
Meanwhile, Ian Machado Garry is training in Georgia to sharpen his wrestling for a potential fight with Islam Makhachev, aiming to secure a title shot by improving his skills and preparing for the challenge. Islam Makhachev responds to Ian Garry traveling to Georgia to sharpen his wrestling, making it clear he is not impressed. He believes that in just 2 or 3 months, it is impossible to truly learn wrestling at the level required to compete with elite grapplers.
Слушай, а Гэри зачем-то в Грузию полетел, но он, может, не очень разбирается, что это не одно и то же полететь в Грузию или полететь в Дагестан, как бы, я не знаю, может, он тебя искать полетел. А как ты думаешь, зачем он вообще туда полетел?
Ну, я уже как-то говорил, что это является ошибкой для бойцов ездить на какие-то сборы за 2-3 месяца до боя, чтобы потянуть борьбу. Это, наоборот, играет злую такую ошибку, потому что человек едет на 2-3 месяца куда-то подготовиться и начинает верить в свою борьбу, и вот это потом не срабатывает. За 2-3 месяца невозможно научиться бороться. Это то, что ты должен делать с самого детства, многие-многие годы.
Если сравнивать вот Маддалену и Гэри именно по уровню ММА, вот кого бы ты поставил выше все-таки?
Ну, они оба ударника, я поставил Маддалену выше.
Javier Mendez breaks down a potential matchup between Islam Makhachev and Ian Garry, saying Garry could have moments on the feet thanks to his tricky and unpredictable striking. However, he is confident the fight would shift dramatically on the ground, where he believes Garry would be focused on surviving rather than controlling or dominating Islam.
He does well with Islam on the stand-up because he's rangy, he's tricky, all those. But on the ground, he doesn't. He does okay, but he doesn't survive on the ground. I don't think. I mean, well, okay, he might survive 5 rounds, but he won't get the best of Islam on the ground. That I'm 100% sure about that. On the stand-up, he's pretty tricky. So one punch can change everything on that. One kick, one punch, one knee. You know, so that's a different story. But on the ground, I don't see him dominating. I see him surviving possibly. So yeah, I could see that. And then the takedown defense that he has is decent, but not great enough to stop Islam from taking him down. But again, you know, sometimes we'll go in there and we'll decide that we're gonna do this with Islam, and next thing you know, next round we'll say, okay, take him down now, or next thing you know, next round we'll go stand up, because he's that good. So we're not looking at going in any specific game plan for anybody because he's good everywhere.
MMA Guru also talks about a potential Islam Makhachev versus Ian Garry fight, predicting Makhachev would likely win by decision, though Garry could make things difficult by landing damage or taking a round. He notes that while Garry has finishing ability and Makhachev is more hittable than he appears and not as overwhelmingly powerful, to overestimate Gary's knockout threat, pointing out that fighters often become timid facing him, even though his danger is real but manageable.
Boxing's not better than MMA? Well, send the MMA guy into a boxing ring and let's prove it. And that's the boxer's big argument as to why boxing's better. Because we often see MMA fighters, because they're paid less, go into boxing and get beaten by a guy who's been boxing his whole life, when an MMA fighter hasn't. An MMA fighter's been training grappling and jiu-jitsu and, you know, Muay Thai and all of this other stuff in amongst boxing as well. they're obviously going to lose to the boxer at the top level. We saw this with Mayweather versus McGregor. That being said, Usyk would dust up John Jones in boxing. Jones can't fucking box. He don't have a jab. He don't have punch power in his hands, even with 4-ounce gloves. So I think Usyk would dust up John Jones. Topuria wouldn't beat the guys at his size. He would have a chance. He would have more of a chance, though.
Islam Makhachev's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, questions the notion of a next fight against Ian Garry. He believes the matchup fans truly want is Islam versus Kamaru Usman, suggesting any alternative doesn't make much sense. While doubtful the UFC will choose a different path, he leaves room for the unexpected. Ali Abdelaziz said, Islam and Usman want to fight each other, but UFC might have a different plan. But that's what I think. Maybe they think differently, but don't tell me Ian Garry. On the other hand, things are heating up in the middleweight division as Anthony Hernandez makes it clear that he is ready for Khamzat Chimaev wherever the fight takes place. He believes Chimaev relies heavily on one primary strength, while he brings a complete and versatile skill set to the table. Hernandez sees the matchup as his opportunity to prove he belongs at the top and to stake his claim as a future champion.
You've got all that relentlessness and the ability to potentially neutralize Chimaev in a way that we haven't seen before. Is there anything else that you think just kind of makes you dangerous enough that really should give the champion problems when you do get the chance?
Our grappling defense is really good, so that's one thing, you know what I mean? I think that I could force him to have to stay on his feet. But honestly, with even him, I don't give a where it goes. Grappling, striking, standing up, like, he's got one thing and I got a fucking arsenal. So, I mean, I really don't give a fuck. I want my time to prove that I'm the champion. If he's the challenger, whoever the fuck has the belt, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to take them out, clear out this division, and you probably never see me again because I'm out.
Anthony Hernandez gives a blunt assessment of Khamzat Chimaev's performance against Dricus du Plessis, describing it as control-heavy and focused on holding positions rather than engaging on the feet. From his perspective, the approach lacked excitement and centered more on grappling dominance than striking exchanges.
Khamzat Chimaev handled Dricus du Plessis last year to win the championship. What did you learn about him, the new champion, in that performance?
He's just going to hug you and hold you down. He doesn't want to bang on his feet. He's not exciting. That's kind of what I took away from that.
Ben Askren also voiced disappointment in Khamzat Chimaev's approach against Dricus du Plessis, feeling that Chimaev played it too safe and failed to inflict significant damage on his opponent.
But in the middleweight division, someone you and I have spoken about before, Khamzat Chimaev, what do you think it'll take to beat him?
Yeah, he looked great against du Plessis. Although I was disappointed he didn't take more chances. He really played it safe, and he could take him down and stay on top of him, but he didn't really try to hurt him too much. So that was kind of disappointing. I thought he looked great. I think he's talking about moving up again, which is weird because he fought 170 not really that long ago. So it's interesting that he's thinking about moving up again. Yeah, he looked great.
Anthony Hernandez reflects honestly on his past UFC losses, admitting that earlier in his career he sometimes believed in himself too much and underestimated the level of competition. He acknowledges that everyone in the UFC is elite and that trying to push through injuries while chasing paydays hurt him in the long run. Now, he emphasizes the importance of competing only when fully healthy and encourages fighters to be smart, protect their careers, and not gamble with their livelihood.
What do you believe has been the difference going back to your last defeat, early pandemic against Kevin Holland, before running off 8 consecutive?
Man, like I tell people all the time, it's sometimes I believe in myself too much, and that's the issue. I was, you know what I mean? I was no excuses at all. But the people that beat me on that night, I thought I was able to be the best of myself, and that was not the case. But what it came down to is, like, I just had to take a long look in the mirror and realize that I can't just fight for money. I got to go out there when I'm healthy, and everyone in this UFC is really good. So you're fighting the cream of the crop, you know what I mean? So when I made that adjustment and only came out healthy, I mean, you see, I've laid it out for you guys that I believe I'm championship quality. I thought I was going to run through everyone when I was younger, and I just try to fight hurt. So don't do that, guys. Be smart. Don't play with your money, and just fight for your pride. You know what I mean?
Meanwhile, Khamzat Chimaev is more likely to face Nassourdine Imavov in his title defense fight. Imavov has been the top contender for a long time, and the fans believe that this is his time now to test his luck at the belt.
Looking at the top of the middleweight, the top 5 right now, who do you think is most deserving to fight him?
Yeah, at this point, Imavov, I would have said RDR, obviously, had he won his last fight, winning a few in a row like he did coming into the UFC. But, after that, you got to give the nod to Imavov.
And when you do fight for the title, do you think that you'll be fighting Hamza? Like, will he still be champion?
It's hard to say, I feel like, when you look at historically how often he's been competing and, kind of just try to get into his mindset a little bit, I don't necessarily know that he'll compete for much longer, or even at middleweight, he might, go up to 205. I've heard that maybe he wants to go back down to 170. So, I'm not counting on it, but it would be a great fight. So I just got to take care of business on my end. He's obviously done that on his end, and I just need to keep improving, getting better, and winning fights.
However, Sean Strickland doesn't like the idea of a potential matchup between Khamzat Chimaev and Nasruddin Imavov, arguing that it would not generate interest with fans. In doing so, he used inflammatory language and made controversial remarks about the idea of featuring the fighters at a White House event, comments that quickly drew attention for their provocative tone.
I mean, here's the thing, dude. Do I think that, you want to see two terrorist Muslims fight each other, right? Like, more than likely, Chimaev's gonna take down Imavov and just fucking dry hump him for, nobody gives a fuck about two foreigners fighting.
Well, if you or Anthony won this, you might fight him at the White House card.
Yeah, it'd be funny bring a terrorist to the White House, but yeah, I mean, it won't surprise me with this administration. I feel like Trump would do that. But again, they bring Ali Abazab to the. Wasn't he on stage with Trump, right? Like, dude, weren't you didn't you get caught with passports and became an FBI informant? Like, what the are you doing with the president of the United States, dude? How the did you get here,
Sean Strickland also addressed the possibility of fighting Khamzat Chimaev at the White House event while also taking aim at Ali Abdelaziz. He sarcastically questioned the idea of bringing him to that stage and criticized the administration in the process. Strickland also referenced Abdelaziz's past legal issues, suggesting it would be controversial to see him featured prominently at such an event.
Well, if you or Anthony won this, you might fight him at the White House card.
Yeah, it'd be funny bring a terrorist to the White House, but no, yeah, I mean, it won't surprise me with this administration. I feel like Trump would do that. But again, they bring Ali Abazab to the. Wasn't he on stage with Trump, right? Like, dude, weren't you didn't you get caught with passports and became an FBI informant? Like, what the are you doing with the president of the United States, dude? How the did you get here,
Strickland also believes he might be the only middleweight capable of defeating Khamzat Chimaev. He calls it a massive fight and even suggests that Fluffy could be a better wrestler than Chimaev, underscoring his confidence in his own skills to challenge the top contender.
I'm probably the only one that could beat Chimaev. I honestly think Fluffy's a better wrestler than Chimaev. I think pace-wise, style-wise, I think over 5 rounds, Fluffy's probably a better but then stand-up, I think Chimaev might take him to a stand-up decision. So, I don't know, man. It's kind of weird what the UFC did with Chimaev. You brought a guy in that fights once a year who's like Madonna, who probably gets how much money does that dictator give him on the table? The guy doesn't need to fight, dude. He's best friends with a warlord, he doesn't need to fight. Dude gets gifted G-Wagons. So you have somebody who, he's just gonna sit on that belt and wait until they force him to fight. And then he wanted to fight Nasruddin or something, whatever the guy's name is. He's like, oh, I don't want to fight you, my brother. What are you talking about?
So that's all we have from today's video, and hopefully you enjoyed it. Share your thoughts in the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos.